2, 3. And we should be going live, and there will be a little bit of a lag, but yep, we are live now on our YouTube.
Okay, well, we're in the midst of Shark Week, Shark Fest, general shark season, because it's summertime, people are at the beach. We're hanging out today with Jasmin and Jaida, a couple of the co-founders from Minorities in Shark Sciences. Or do you guys call yourself Miss Elasmo usually? Because we can't forget about the rest of the Elasmo Brink family.
I mean, usually we just go by Miss, but like our Twitter and Instagram handles are Miss_Elasmo, so Miss Elasmo also works, I guess.
That maybe we can get into later. It's like, you know, everything's about sharks, but there's other cool Elasmo Brinks. There's skates, there's rays, you know, talk about underrated. I'm Micah. We got Jessica here holding it down. Yeah, so Shark Week, Shark Fest, they've both been going on for a long time. There's a lot of great white stuff. There's a lot of like shark human encounters. We thought you guys would be great to get into some of the lesser known shark species. Like, I think Shark Week has been on since like the 80s. So yeah, let's talk with all of our shark loving friends. Like, let's find a new fave. For those of us who like have just been saying Hammerhead or like Great White is my favorite for years. We're gonna play a little overrated, underrated shark edition. I don't know, Jessica, do you want to take us through the mechanics of the game?
Sure. So for overrated, underrated, pretty simple. We're gonna throw up some clips, some videos, and sometimes it's photos, depending on the shark. And we're just gonna let it play through, and you just let us know if you think it's an overrated shark or an underrated shark. And depending on if we're all in agreement or not, there might be some arguing. And I'd like to clarify, because people play this wrong. It's not whether or not you like the shark, because I can love a shark and still think it's overrated. So you could give your opinion of if you like it or not, but this is about if it's too much in Shark Fest and other sharks need to be promoted during this. So we think we have some good ones that can give some controversial opinions, but if you're in the chat, let us know if you like them or if you think they're overrated, underrated, et cetera, et cetera. So,
all right, let's roll this beautiful shark footage. And while we're getting that ready, Jasmin, Jaida, do we have any, you know, biases or, you know, things? Do we have any shark baggage going into this? Like, is there someone that you just know if the shark comes up, I'm gonna give it the thumbs down?
Yeah. Of course. And it's
okay.
Great White. Like, it's just so overrated. And do I love them? Yes, they're the largest predatory fish on the planet. Like, that's awesome. But like, they breach. Yeah, so do a lot of other sharks. I'm like, we've learned a lot about Great Whites. Can we keep it moving? Let's highlight some other underrated guys.
I was just, well, go ahead. Yes, if you were gonna make Jaws again, maybe make it about the is it the Oceanic whitetip that, like, you know, they're opportunistic and they would eat like shipwreck survivors and stuff. It's like, that's who you might be more likely to, I don't know, need to worry about if you were a mid-century sailor.
So let's get into our first one. I think you will probably be pleased with this. But this one, once it pops up on screen, it was a Thresher shark.
Absolutely beautiful, fantastic.
We love a good Thresher.
Underrated. It's a shark that hunts with its butt. That's cool. That's so underrated.
I'm going to disagree. Because in our shark madness, the Thresher beat out some of my favorite sharks, and I'm still salty about it. So I think the Thresher is overrated. I don't think that it deserved the Shark Madness title. These are just my opinions.
Who did? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think maybe I'm just letting my love for the Thresher shark get in the like cloud my judgment a little bit. I would say that it's appropriately rated. I don't think it's talked about quite enough on like your conventional like Shark Week, Shark Fest type of thing, but like in like your inner shark circles, like people talk about it a lot. I feel like it's appropriately rated. It's a good shark.
Who did it beat out in Shark Madness? Who fell to the Thresher that you were sad to see go, Jasmin?
I'm just very salty that my bonnet head didn't make it to the end. It's very sad. It's super sad.
Also the great hammerhead and the wing head. The thing is, I feel bad because I'm the one who put the bracket together and I pitted a lot of like the hammerheads against each other, and Jasmine was not happy with me for that.
There can only
it
be
was a
one.
very unfair bracket. I don't know why she made all of my babies go against each other.
I'm sorry. Next year will be better. You guys can have more input next year.
That is like how would you organize a bracket? Like you try to put a bunch of pelagic species together, a bunch of deep sea, so you kind of represent each region, and then you have them go head to head.
Yeah, we just kind of like named a bunch of sharks, and then we're like, this seems like a good matchup, like a bull shark versus a tiger shark. Like that just kind of makes sense. The great white versus the mako. I was thrilled to see the great white out in round 1. Mako beat it, and like we didn't even have to worry about it anymore. I was really concerned that it was going to go all the way to the end, and I was like, we cannot have this. But yeah,
I just want to, this Thresher, so like you said, they hunt with their butts. I think those tails, they will like rupture your swim bladder if they hit you with it. I mean, they're going really fast. And then your background, Jaida, is like another thing I love about it, which isn't that scientific, but it's just its little perpetual worried expression. You know?
Yeah, I always say they look like it's 11:30 p.m. and they just realized they have an assignment due at 11:59. And they're like, oh God, gotta get started on it real fast. They always look scared, and I love it.
They're relatable.
I would vote that they're also underrated because I didn't really know about them prior to coming to Oceanic, coming from a non-ocean background. What about you, Micah? Are you going to make it a tie?
Well, I think I'll say they're underrated, but the thing tipping me is this footage is from a subdive with a shark scientist in the Northern Red Sea, and she had been studying sharks for a really long time, but I think their pelagic thresher sharks are sort of rare to see, and she said, you know, much less alive, like I guess people see them in like seafood markets or things like that. So the fact that it's like kind of rare, got the beautiful ribbon tail, got the perpetually worried expression. I mean, I'm more of the general population than the inner shark circle. So I don't know, but I'm going to say underrated.
So we have one underrated shark for Thresher, but we still love Thresher regardless.
Of course, they're gorgeous.
This one's a fun one. So we have
underrated. I don't even need to see the video. Underrated.
So tell the audience what they're seeing, because I'm sure they're just seeing dirt in this video.
You're about to see the greatest ambush attack in the history of ambush attacks.
There's a shark there. We debated starting with this clip, but it's there. Yeah, greatest ambusher.
You'll see it in about 5 seconds. It's just the little scuba. I think it's trying to attack the little scuba person. Not really, but
they're
very fun.
Look at him. Oh, what a sweetie.
So for everyone watching, this is, tell me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, an
Wobbegong.
Wobbegong, whatever. Yeah, so these guys are ambush hunters. So they just sit there waiting for prey to get close enough. Their little tassels are fantastic for camouflage, along with like the colors and patterns all over their skin. And they just lay waiting there because they can buccal pump, so they don't have to keep swimming in order to breathe. They can just pull water into their gills. And then when a prey item gets close enough, they just open their mouth fast enough to create a vacuum, and it pulls the water and the fish in, and then it has a meal. And it's so fast. Like if you blink, you're going to miss it. And they're just, oh my gosh, they're incredible. They're so underrated. And they're also very closely related to the whale shark, which I think is hilarious.
Yes,
they are
super underrated, very underrated. They are awesome. I wish that we would have seen it actually like ambush something. I was hoping for it. It's pretty awesome to watch. Also, fun fact, Wobbegong comes from the Aboriginal word for bearded because duh. Look at that beard. They're so cute. I love them. Also, if you're on Twitter and you want to learn more about Wobbegongs, be sure to follow #Wobbegong Wednesday, where our good friend Chris posts fun facts about Wobbegongs every week, and they're
I just love this little guy, but I am confused of like his little beard. That's all them. It's not like, it looks like coral is stuck to it, but that's its
Yeah.
actual body and skin.
Yeah, that's kind of the point, is like it kind of gives smaller fish like a sense of security, maybe thinking like, oh, let me take a bite of this coral. Little do they know that's not coral and you're about to get eaten.
Yeah, imagine being a little fish and being like, I'm out in the open ocean, I'm scared, let me go hide in this. Yeah.
Let me hide in this cave. Oh, it's not a cave and I'm dead now? Cool.
They just get vacuumed out of the water into a stomach.
Exactly.
I love the beard. I love that it's a carpet shark. I think not enough gets said about the chill sharks. Everybody's like, great whites, makos, we're fast, we're attacking stuff. I like that it's mostly just chill. For some of us chill, laid back people, if you're looking for a new favorite shark, consider a carpet shark.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I relate to this Wobbegong so much because I also want to put in the minimum amount of effort at all times. It's like, I'm going to sit here for 99% of the time, and that 1% of the time, I'm going to go hard, and then I'm going to be done.
And the 1% is only for eating and nothing else. No other activity.
It's work smart, not hard as an evolutionary strategy.
Yeah.
I do love the look of it. I think we're all in agreement that this is clearly an underrated shark. Needs more love.
Oh, so beautiful.
How widely distributed are the Wobbegongs specifically? Because there's carpet sharks as a family, but where do these guys, like, where are you most likely to find a Wobbegong?
Well, so there's a couple different species of Wobbegongs, and Wobbegongs are also commonly referred to as carpet sharks. Like, so it's it gets kind of confusing. Yeah, what I think, I'm not exactly 100% sure what their distribution is like. Jasmine, do you want to take that
I think they're mostly in the Oceania area, so like Australia, New Zealand. But yeah, people refer to them as carpet sharks, but there are also other erectolable forms, which are the carpet shark order, that people don't call carpet sharks. This is a reason why scientific names exist, because otherwise we would be super confused all the time because no one can agree on what to call things. So
yeah, and I do believe that the whale shark is also in erectolobiforms, which seems so odd because they have such different life strategies. But I mean, I guess if you look at the shape of the shark, it like kind of makes sense. Like the fact that they're like have like a wider flat mouth, it just kind of is so odd, but it makes sense.
It makes sense.
Evolution is weird.
Bit. The size throws me off though when you said whale shark. I was like, this little guy cannot have a big cousin.
He's got a real big cousin.
Well, it sounds like we're all in agreement on the Wobbegong. Let's see. For our third.
The Shawshank Tripathy says, I've never seen the Wobbegong on Discovery or Nat Geo. That is exactly right. That's what I feel confident in our unanimous verdict. Highly underrated. Okay, moving on. Another
Jaida already reacting to
it's so cute. So, okay. This is another reason, this shark is another reason why scientific names are important, because in the US, this is called a zebra shark. In Australia, they call it a leopard shark. However, there's also a shark in the US that we call a leopard shark, and in Australia, they call that one the zebra shark. So it's very confusing, and no one knows what you're talking about unless you use the scientific name. But these guys are so cute, zebra sharks. They are also buccal pumpers, so they don't have to keep swimming in order to move. I personally think that they're underrated. I mean, maybe less underrated than the Wobbegong, but still underrated because they're just so cute, and like their tails are so long and flimsy, and I just think that they're amazing.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with underrated here. And I also think that it's just fascinating that they look so different as adults. Like any animal that just is like, I am so different from my juvenile stage that people thought that I was an entirely different species. That's just wild. That's a lot of change.
Was the juvenile
glow
stage
up the ultimate glow up?
Yes, that is the juvenile stage, which is why we call it a zebra shark, but then when they're older, they're spotted. So some people call it a leopard shark. And so, and then the leopard shark is kind of the other way around. So it gets very confusing. But yeah, so they're like striped as babies. So zebra shark, but that doesn't look like a zebra. It's very weird.
One thing that I love about them is their little snout and their tiny can we talk about their little small mouth?
They have a very small mouth.
Yeah, what is up with that?
They're so cute.
They look so happy. They eat invertebrates. So it's just a little small mouth for crunching things like hard shelled invertebrates like crabs and stuff like that. Oh, they're so cute.
So I have, if anyone listens to my podcast that I have with Triana Arguedas, More Than Just a Scientist, I took my friend swimming with sharks, and he got to interact with the zebra sharks at the Georgia Aquarium, and like they sat in his lap and everything, and he was like, "This is the cutest shark I've ever seen. Why did no one tell me sharks were this cute? What the heck?" And for that, I think that he would also say that this is an underrated shark.
Are these its teeth that we were just looking at? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
why they're so small.
They have they're like grinding kind of teeth. So rather than like piercing things, it's like more for like crushing and stuff like that.
It's like a nutcracker. They got a nutcracker in their mouth.
Have you seen one of them chew? Like, do they do kind of a like a rolling motion? I don't know how that even works.
They kind of just do a big crunch. It's like literally like a nutcracker where they just go, and then you just hear the crunch, and then they slurp up the little invertebrate in the shell.
And this is there's a photo of a MISS member doing field work with one of them. Did that, was that one of you all, or is that one of your members?
That's one of our members, yeah.
I believe that this shark, sometimes sharks get into the pet trade. Don't ever try to own a shark. That's a really bad idea for a lot of different reasons. But I believe that this was one of those that was surrendered to them. And so she was touching it to make sure, like looking at like its health and assessing its well-being and stuff like that. So just another reminder that we don't just touch sharks for fun necessarily. I mean, like in an aquarium setting, potentially, you know, like doing some sort of tactile work to make sure that the animal's comfortable and things like that. But don't ever just try to touch a shark because it's cute. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. But I think we're in agreement that that is definitely an underrated shark. And that photo we pulled from your Instagram. So everyone check out their Instagram of Miss Elasma. And then we're on to number 4. This one, our audience should be quite familiar with. This is why most people love us. Jaida seems to love it. So we're looking at a Sixgill shark. This is our footage of it. And what do you guys think? Overrated, underrated?
That's a hard one. I feel like people talk about them a decent amount, but like not as much as they should necessarily. I'll say maybe appropriately rated, but I mean, it's first of all, underrated in the fact that they don't get enough attention for being as big as they are, because they can get to be the same size as a great white. And people don't ever think that that's a thing that can happen. They're huge. And also they're missing a first dorsal fin. Most sharks have 2 dorsal fins. Cow sharks, so like the Sixgill, the Sevengill, and the frilled shark, they don't have a first dorsal fin. So it makes them look extra derpy. And then again, they have an extra gill slit because typically sharks have 5 gill slits on each side. And these guys, obviously, according to their name, have 6. So maybe I do think that they're more underrated than I thought they were.
I would say underrated and on the up and coming, an up and coming contender. I think that Oceanic, like all the videos and like the video of Gavin like tagging it and everything like that, I think that that's making them more popular. So I think they're approaching appropriately rated. But like, I mean, look at this. Look at it. It's just like a giant derpy little thing. It's just like, what is this? Can I eat it? No. Can I eat that? No. It's just, I love it. It's great.
They're so funny. Also, they live up in like Puget Sound and stuff. They're kind of everywhere, but they also live in Puget Sound. And sometimes I got a text from a friend recently saying, "We wish you hadn't moved because we just saw a Sixgill." while diving. And I was like, how did I miss that? I was so sad. But yeah, they're super cool.
They look so sleek because they don't
I
have that
know.
first dorsal. There's like little slinky slinks.
Yeah, but
I
like,
have never noticed that before. I'm glad you pointed that out, but
Yeah.
you're right. It does look just like a smooth shark.
it for certain tags would make tagging them very difficult, because especially if you need like a video, typically you want it on the first dorsal fin so you can see like the head of the shark and you have like the shark's view. That's not going to happen if you try and put it on the second dorsal fin. So it's like, how do you tag a 6-gill or a 7-gill or a frilled shark? So they're just kind of goofballs and make research a little bit more, certain types of research a little more difficult than it needs to be.
I think I would agree with y'all. I would say it's underrated, but it's getting up there. I think maybe within the next 2 years, it will be dominating all the shark programming quite soon.
Look at his claspers. Those some serious claspers.
Yeah, who are those claspers down there?
Yeah, the claspers, that's fun fact. If you ever want to tell whether a shark is a male or a female, you look at their pelvic fin, which is those fins down there, equivalent to where our pelvis is, the pelvic fin, just like our pelvis. And you'll see these little like things sticking out if they are male sharks, and those are claspers, which kind of function a little bit like grappling hooks during reproduction, and I will let your mental image just do what it will with that.
Well, it's literally, yeah, there's like a romantic, let's say, a coital embrace that happens with the claspers. Yeah, okay.
I don't know if I would call it romantic, but sure.
Coital, yeah, takes the let's not anthropomorphize or make it sound sweeter than it is. I think shark mating might be a little rough and tumble, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's well, so typically female sharks have thicker skin than male sharks because male sharks have to bite onto the female to hold them in place in order for sexual reproduction to work. So they have to like physically have to have thicker skin, otherwise they're gonna have some real damage.
And they still have a lot of damage. That's one of the ways that we can tell if a shark has recently mated, because it has wounds or recent scar tissue. So it gets to be a real rough reproduction in the shark world.
Well, ending on those fun facts about shark, we'll head over to our fifth one. This one is the nurse shark.
If Carly were here, she would say underrated. I'm going to say overrated because nurse sharks people are like, oh, look at the nurse sharks. They're so sweet. They're like the cats of the sea. Look at them in their cuddle puddles. And that's all fine and dandy until you're like trying to work one up or take any sort of sample or data from it. And then it's just like, I hate you. I'm going to fight you. I want to slap you in the face. It's a lot. They are a whole situation. They are just balls of rage and anxiety.
So handling them, because you had quite a few photos on your Instagram handling the nurse sharks. That was not the most fun experience you've ever had in your life.
No, they are very ragey. They also they're also buccal pumpers, so they use their cheek muscles to pull water in over their gills. So they just basically sit there and store up all of their energy to fight you. So this is a little itty bitty nurse shark here, equally as full of rage, but it's a lot easier to deal with a little tiny ball of rage than a like 300-pound ball of rage. So
yeah, I think I would agree, Carly. I'm really sorry, but I would say that they're overrated, not just because they're rage monsters, but like if you were to show a picture of a nurse shark to like some random person on the street, chances are they'd probably be able to tell you that it's a nurse shark. But like if you showed someone a Wobbegong shark, they're going to be like, what on earth is that thing? So like, you know what I mean? I feel like they're talked about more on your typical like shark shows than a lot of other sharks are. So they're not quite at like great white status of fame, but I think that they're pretty far up there. So maybe a little overrated.
Now, they might be overrated. Do they win? Grunt fan in the chat. Are they the most ill-tempered shark? And it sounds like they're up there as a contender. No.
They're up there, but I don't think they win. Honestly, I would say tiger sharks probably. Amani has some stories of, you know, when you're working them up, if they get stressed out, they'll just vomit. And not only will they vomit the contents of their stomach, they will vomit their literal stomach. And then in order to get their stomach back into their body, they just swim fast forward with their mouth open because they're mad and they freak out and they're just like, bleh. I can't.
I would say that the tiger sharks definitely are the most unpleasant to deal with because of the throw up thing, especially when they throw up things that are like really stinky. That's not good. But in terms of like having to work up a shark, what is going to take the most energy and you're most likely to get like beat up or get some shark burn or whatever, I definitely would say that nurse sharks take the cake on that. I would rather work up like 10 tiger sharks than one nurse shark. They're pretty rough. I once got slapped in the face by a nurse shark and it was just rude. And it was like, I was done. Like we were releasing it. It had already won. It was going back in the water. And it was just like, you know what? I have something to say about this whole situation. Well, bam! As it was like going into the water. It was just rude. It was just rude.
Purely out of spite. It was like, you know what I think about you? Oh God.
Andy's in the chat and he says, they say, I thought nurse sharks were pretty chill. And I also thought they're chill because they're just chilling on the bottom, right? Like
that's what they want you to think.
Yeah. They're chill.
They are chill and they're like in their little cuddle puddles when they're in the water, just like sitting. But as soon as you try to like bring them out of the water to do something or like make them do anything that they don't want to do, they're like, no, I don't.
I respect that.
They seem like very spoiled, like the spoiled kid at school where like they're super well and dandy and super happy when their life is working out the way they want it to. But as soon as something doesn't go their way, they're like, the world needs to end and I'm going to end it.
They're bratty. They're like a Veruca Salt character on a Willy Wonka or something, you know?
Yeah.
What's the, okay, I just need to know, so the vomiting up their stomach, is that, I'm sorry, this is my ADD popping off. Did you say whether or not that was like an intentional like defensive mechanism for like, or is it just that they're stressed?
I want to say both, kind of.
Yeah, it's a stress response that has an evolutionary benefit of just like, wow, okay, I was gonna eat you, but you just like threw up your stomach, and now I'm thinking, yeah, I don't want to eat you anymore. But yeah, they do throw up their stomach as a gut reaction to say like, I think that you might be about to eat me or something. Let me just go ahead and throw this up. And then we're like, dude, we're not going to eat you. We're literally just going to put a little tag in you and put you back in the water. There's no need for you to vomit.
Well, I love ending on the strangest notes.
I think we've got a good track record going of ending on like the most unexpected note, you know, the claspers, the stomach bombs. Let's keep it up.
Overrated.
Overrated.
We had to put one in, and that we didn't want to put the great white. I promised you that. But
do I love them? Absolutely. They are so cute. They're so goofy. They're the largest fish that exist on the planet today. They are so, so cool. Absolutely overrated. They're talked about constantly. You know what else isn't talked about? That's also a super huge filter feeder? The basking shark. And they can jump, but these guys don't jump.
We considered doing a basking shark or a megamouth. We had better visuals, TBH, for the whale shark. You know, But
Because they're overrated.
That it's easy to find the biggest thing, the biggest fish in the ocean. So that's probably why.
iconic prehistoric Terminator in the chat. Not just overrated, they're iconic. But maybe are they deserving of their icon status? Here's a question I have.
But they're still overrated.
Are they the only ones in their family? Well, like, are they the only ones that do this vertical filter feeding? Like, what's with that choice that they're making?
So these guys are active filter feeders. So like how the Wobbegong shark can bugle pump and pull water into their mouth, these guys can do the same thing. The purpose of doing it is to suck in as much plankton as possible to then filter over their gills so that they can eat. Whereas like with the basking shark or the megamouth shark, they just passively filter feed and they just swim with their mouth open. These guys are like sucking at the surface to get plankton.
And I will say one thing about the whale shark that at least I personally underrated, even though they're an overrated shark in general. Whenever I was watching the feeding happening at the Georgia Aquarium, I could not get over how much water they suck in. It's like a little whirlpool. Like all of the other fish and everything have to get out of the way so they don't get sucked in. Like it's a giant vortex. They are like doing some serious pumping in that situation. So kudos to them. They are super good at their active filter feeding. So I'll give them that.
I would also like to mention something that I think is kind of underrated is that the spot pattern on their back is as unique as a human fingerprint. So you can, if you get a good enough picture, be able to identify a specific whale shark based on its patterns. And I think that that's really cool.
So maybe the whale shark as a shark overrated, but see, there's some underrated shark facts that you're helping me.
Yes. I have one more fact about it that Amani would be so angry if we didn't share. So basically, shark skin is called dermal denticles. It's basically what we think of as like modified teeth. It has enamel. They also have a different kind of dermal denticle covering their eyeballs as like protection. They don't have any eyelids. They just have teeth on their eyes, basically.
I remember we had to do a TikTok about that, or Micah did, and I was.
That was me. I said most innovative because somebody asked us, do fish have eyelids? And we were like, well, there's a whole bunch of methods for, like some sharks, great whites roll their eyes back. You've got your nictitating membrane. But whale shark, most innovative eye protection with the teeth.
So this one, leopard shark. Did we correct? So
yes, this is
leopard shark for America.
Correct. This is the one they call the zebra shark in, I think, Australia. So it gets very confusing. But I don't know how I would rate these. I feel like this is one of the ones that's kind of like, it depends on what sphere you're in. Like if you're in the public sphere, maybe underrated. But if you're within, like if you're talking to a bunch of like people who like sharks, everyone knows about it and they talk about them and they're cool. So like maybe again, like appropriately rated.
Yeah, I'd say appropriately rated. I mean, they're super cool. And I think people, at least like if they're shown a picture of them, I'd say like 40 or 50% of people would go, I think I know what that is. But I think that Jada's right, that in the shark sphere, a lot of people do research on them. So that is pretty common. But if we're talking about like making it into documentaries and stuff, they don't make it into enough documentaries, in my opinion.
What's kind of the storyline with the leopard shark? Like if you were programming Shark Fest, and you just wanted to hit the headlines?
So I think that, we have a Miss member, Abel, and they do some research on them and their movements and their pupping and everything like that, which is a really neat story because it's just super temperature driven and they are finding all of these like warm spots in cold water. Like they're a place where you wouldn't think that they would be based on the water temperature, but they know how to find these like pockets of warm water and hang out there and wait out the winter, which is super cool. So I think if I were going to make a documentary, I would make a documentary on that.
Let's see. Don't quite remember what the next one. Oh, this one. I am curious to see what you rate.
See,
Overrated, but I love them.
yes, exactly. Everyone knows. Here's the thing. It depends on which one. Because if you just say hammerhead, overrated, if you're looking at a specific species, because not a lot of people know that there are 10 different species of hammerheads. So it kind of depends on how you frame that question. I feel like I'm really bad at giving straight answers to me.
No, I like
Yeah,
your words.
I would agree with that. I would say that the great hammerhead is overrated, but like
amazing.
No one talks about bonnet heads enough. No one talks about winghead sharks enough. Like there are some other hammerheads that need to be discussed.
Winghead sharks are way beyond underrated. Like no one knows they are a thing, and they have like the aspect ratio of their head makes no sense. I'm like, this looks like a child tried to draw a fish and then like didn't do well at it, and then evolution was like, I like where your head's at, and they made it anyway.
Can you explain that of like the aspect? Is it because their head is too big or too small?
Yeah, their head is really about 3/4 as wide as their body is long, which is an excessively wide head. They are extremely derpy. Why do they look like that? Literally why? So many questions. I actually did research on the hammerhead family in undergrad, looking at how they evolved. And that was the big, like, what the heck? Why? That does not seem helpful. You're just like so wide. You have so much drag. Like, how are you existing?
Yeah, not to mention, are you not like worried about banging your bulby eyeballs against corals and stuff?
Yeah.
So what did you find out? Like, why did they go down this? Why did evolution send them down this wide head tangent? Did it end up having benefits?
Question. So there's two hypotheses, and I could not provide evidence to reject either hypothesis. So one is like super crazy because it's that they actually are the like oldest the winghead is, which would indicate that there was some like super random mutation that caused their head to be this obnoxiously large. And ever since then, evolution has been moving them to smaller and smaller heads, which is like, that's dramatic. That is a very dramatic mutation for the wing heads to be like, I mean, this is less than ideal, but I could survive with this. And then the other one is like the more commonly thought of way that we like to think evolution works, although it doesn't always work like this. It's like small incremental changes that it's like been getting bigger over time, which is why a lot of people are like, well, if it's getting bigger over time, it must have an advantage, but no one can figure out what the advantage is. So I personally, as a scientist, lean towards that the head is really a fluke, but
It was so bad. I love it.
We need to get up our production value so we can play the little rim shot for you, because you've got a couple of puns.
I'll just get a little drum right here.
I love puns. Love a good pun.
So is that, if somebody's about to try to go to grad school for shark science, are you saying they should pick up where you left off? Is that a good research project, or are you like, no way?
It's a good research project. Keep going, friends. See if you can figure it out. I tried like 3 different ways. I did DNA from the nucleus. I did DNA from the mitochondria. I did morphometrics with CT scans on the computer. I tried every single way that I could think of at the time that was available in the scientific world. So if someone could figure out a better way to do that, I say go for it. There's a big question there that's unanswered.
Possibly invent something new, like a new tool or something.
Yeah.
I did have a question when we were going through this footage. At the very end, there's one of the sharks up here does a very weird wiggle and then up and down instead of swimming normally.
Yeah, they do all sorts of weird swimming things where they like swim on their side and all this weird stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that we talked about the shark throwing up, that's kind of what it looked like, but I bet it wasn't. But I remember.
I mean, they also, sharks kind of do that weird movement when they're like pooping too. And they just do like this like bend at the hips type of thing. It looks so weird and I hate it, but it's that you got to poop somehow, I guess. I don't know.
It just looked like it was a dog just trying to shake itself in the ocean. I was like, what is up with the shark? I watched it so many times. So we look like, Micah, do you think we have time for one more?
Yeah, definitely. I also, while you're pulling that up, thanks Prehistoric Terminator for being so active, and Andy, all you guys, like we've got a good little chat group. But okay, Prehistoric Terminator thinks saw sharks are underrated.
They are definitely underrated.
Wanted to put this to the expert panel.
I would agree, because everyone thinks of, when I say saw shark, they're like, oh, those really big ones. I'm like, no, that's a saw fish, and those are rays, which is something that Jasmin studies. Saw sharks are indeed sharks. They're just way smaller, and they have like these little barbels that come off the side of their saw. Like, they're so cute. They're just not saw fish, and people don't necessarily know that there's a difference sometimes.
Barbels. I love a shark with a barbel or a dangle.
Sorry. Oh my God, I love them. Underrated. I don't care what anyone else says. Greenland sharks are underrated. Let me explain why. Sorry, Jasmine. I'm literally just going to bulldoze this conversation really fast. I love these guys so much. Okay, they're, first of all, the oldest known living vertebrate species on the planet. There's one that they thought estimated between 372 and 512 years old. So average out somewhere in the 400s. That's really cool. Also, they eat polar bears and reindeer because they're scavengers and just like wait for things to die and sink to the bottom. There's a shark that lives in the Arctic. That's incredible. Their flesh is toxic. That's so weird. And like indigenous populations eat them, but you have to like ferment it for like an ungodly amount of time. They grow slower than literal Mount Everest, which is wild. That doesn't make sense, but that's what happens. And almost all of them are blind because they have parasitic copepods that attach to their eyeballs. Wow. Okay, I'm done. Did I get them all? I don't know. I just love them so much. They're so cute. Underrated.
Well,
I don't have anything to add to that.
I'm sorry. I got really excited.
no.
I think they're underrated. I'm not an expert, but I think it's, yeah, the slow growth, the fact they get so old. I think, how long does it take them to gestate? Like their pups, it's like 8 years. It's like it's years, right?
I've never even thought about that. Wow. I have to look that up now.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I think that this is another one that, I mean, the recent finding of the oldest one, I think is kind of bringing them to the surface of popular people like knowing about them. So I hope that soon we're going to get like a Greenland shark, I don't know, deep dive for the general public. And then the general public will be like, oh yeah. There's more to them than just being old. And that day is coming. The rise of the Greenland shark is coming. I feel it.
Yes. I mean, yeah, it's super cool that they're so old, but like there's so many more interesting things about them. As you could see by the monologue that I just gave you, they're so cool. Oh, I love them so much. They're just little old men that live under the ice. Like they're so cute and they're so slow. They don't move fast at all. People are like, what if I was swimming next to one? I'm like, well, if you're swimming in the Arctic, I feel like you're going to have some other things to worry about. But like chances are you could probably swim at the same speed, if not maybe a little faster than them. So,
but it's also so amazing because they're like, yeah, I'm going to be a shark and I'm going to live where it's cold, which is pretty wild because I'm cold-blooded. And so I'm going to just do this. And how are we going to deal with this? Okay. What if evolution is like, what if you just grew really slow and you barely moved so that your metabolism was so low that it didn't matter that you were living in freezing cold water? And then it was just like, yeah, that works.
Also, let's put a natural antifreeze inside your body so that when people eat you, they basically get drunk. Like, what is this animal?
Yeah, evolution is so weird. And it's just like, I mean, you have to just like think about how wild it is that these are all random mutations that were just like happening And then there was a shark that was like, oh, wait, I can go into cold water now. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think their top speed is like 2 miles an hour or something. So they're saying like, we think they ambush like if they eat a seal or something, do they ambush it? Like they're not fully just scavengers, right?
I don't know I mean, maybe they do ambush, but I think most of what they do is scavenging, because like, how are you going to catch anything when you're slower than literally everything else that surrounds you? Like polar bear, you're not killing that thing. Also, the fact that half of them are blind, I mean, like they have a really good sense of smell, but that's going to be way more helpful when sniffing out something that's already dead and has like sunk into the bottom of the ocean. So I think for the most part, they're scavengers. They might ambush some things from time to time, but I think mostly they just kind of find what's already dead.
And so we've got chat questions like, how do they relate to sleeper sharks?
They are a species of sleeper shark.
Okay, so it's like the umbrella, it's like family, sleeper sharks, and you've got Greenland sharks in there.
Yeah, and their cousin is the sleeper shark, so it's kind of like the carpet shark Wobbegong type situation. Yeah, they are a sleeper shark.
Common name, strike again.
I guess the deeper I get into my, shark fandom, the more I'm just gonna have to bone up on my scientific names, because this is getting out of hand.
Oh, but I've tried to pronounce some of those names on TikTok. People will come for you if you get any letter right, and there's so many vowels next to each other.
But
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, that you need to realize is that no one speaks Latin, and also scientific names aren't actually Latin. They're like Latinized. Like people are just
Right.
like, I'm gonna just put some thing together. So like, honestly, no one knows how to say things. Language is all relative. You could say whatever you want. As long as we know what we're talking about, who cares if you say it the way that someone else says it?
Exactly.
Girl, you need to be in our TikTok comment. I would love you there.
Sometimes the roots really help too, because like the genus name for the sleeper sharks for the Greenland shark too is somniosis. So like sleeper, somnia. Like that's something that I find really helpful. So I mean, some of them are not helpful at all to me, because I'm like erectolobiform, like what the hell does that mean? But then, you know what I mean? But then like somniosis makes a lot of sense. So sometimes it's really helpful. Other times I still am very lost, but Latinized names, half of them are named after people anyway. So I'm like, I don't know, just pronounce it how you pronounce it. And chances are someone else also pronounces it like that.
So we do have one last one. So I think what we're going to do is, if that's okay with you, Micah, we'll put it up so we can do our last overrated, underrated, and then we can also do some shout outs of what's been going on with Miss Elasmo.
Oceanic whitetip.
Majestic.
I kind of want to say appropriately rated.
I would say appropriately rated.
They do have a Shark Week show about them.
How are they trending? Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is how are they trending in the public, sentiment?
I would say they're currently appropriately rated, moving towards overrated.
Okay. I get that.
Are these guys the ones called ocean? They call them like sea dogs or ocean dogs because I might have gotten my sharks mixed up. Somebody's a dog. They call a dog because they do dog-like things in the water. It might not be white tips.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's also dogfish, but that might not be. I don't know. But I think a lot of people are like more afraid of these guys than they should be, because they're like, they eat shipwreck survivors. I'm like, first, there's two things to consider when you hear a statement like that. One, how often do you think you're going to find yourself in a shipwreck? That's number one. Not often. So let's take a step back and realize that. And also, number two, they're like, sharks are attracted to vibrations and like splashes and stuff like that, because that's what feels like a dead fish or like a group of dying fish. So you have the vibrations of an entire ship sinking. Of course, they're going to be attracted to that. And they live in the open ocean. So it's like a food desert out there. There's like nothing for them to eat. So of course, they're going to be attracted to this huge vibrating thing. And if they find some food there, of course, they're going to take advantage of it. So again, it's just like their nature to be attracted to. It's not like they're like, human flesh, I must consume. It's like, what is this thing? Is it edible? If it's edible, I'm going to eat it because there's nothing else to eat out here. And also, you're probably not going to end up in a shipwreck in the middle of the ocean and be attacked by oceanic whitetips. So I
Also,
promise
if
they're
you're
not
in a
terrifying.
shipwreck, you're already having a bad day. That's
Right. I was like, I don't think shark is like the biggest thing for you to worry about at that point. Like there's a lot of other stuff
Yeah,
going on.
if I'm in a shipwreck, what I am not thinking about is getting attacked by a shark. What I am thinking about is drowning. That's the
Exactly.
bigger issue here.
Also, if you do for some reason end up in a shipwreck, if there's like someone that has already died, they're gonna go after that before they go after you, because you're going to put up a fight, and this thing over here that's not moving is not going to put up a fight. Like that's what happens with sharks. So the moral of the story, don't be afraid of sharks. I mean, a healthy fear is fine, but like make sure we keep our respect of them and their home, and they're super important animals and we love them.
They're beautiful. I could watch this guy just cruise around like. And who's his, I mean, I know you're not, well, sharks are fish. I know you're not like necessarily the little fish experts, but do you know who this shark's little posse is made up of?
Are those pilot fish? I think they're called pilot fish. I could be wrong.
I just think they make a cute group.
They're
Very
adorable.
cute group.
It's the reason they don't eat the fish next to them, because it's just not worth the effort for body mass.
It might be a type of mutualism where the smaller fish are eating parasites or something like that.
Oh yeah.
It also might just not be worth it. I don't know. But I was going to mention that these guys, a lot of people refer to them as like the airplanes of the sea, because like their fins are so wide and long and they just kind of cruise, which is like perfect for open ocean, because like what are you going to glide against? Like you're literally out there in the middle of nowhere. Oh, they're gorgeous. I love them.
This one is the most graceful of all of them. Clearly not that
Yeah,
one.
very graceful.
But
And not the hammerhead, not always the most graceful, but these guys are awesome.
I mean, hammerheads, I'm impressed they just exist. So
Exactly. You don't need grace to just be cool when your head looks like that.
so I am curious, maybe instead of just playing this, out of the ones that we showed you, which one do you think is the most underrated out of all?
Wobbegong.
Wobbegongs.
And let's put up the Wobbegong while we wrap up, so then it's not as underrated anymore.
Yes.
They're Wobbegong fix.
Cute beardy boy.
Team Wobbegong, let's hit the streets. Let's get people like excited, okay? Go for it, Jessica. I didn't mean to step on you there.
No, I was just gonna say, how about you tell us what's going on with Miss Lasmo? I know Carly, who's not here, but maybe our audience remembers her from Sea Turtle Day. You have something to shout out for her and some other cool things?
Yeah, so Carly's gonna be on Shark Fest this coming week. I think her show airs July 12th. So be sure to tune into that. And then we are going to be doing Shark Fest 2022. There's going to be several MESS members and founders and everything in Shark Fest next year. So this is a little sneak preview. So be on the lookout for Shark Fest 2022. Let's see what else we have going on. We just had our anniversary. So this is a year old now, and we are super excited about that. We are going to be co-hosting a big conference with several other minority-serving marine science organizations called POC. It's another pun. We love a good pun. And so if you're interested in attending that conference and learning more about marine science and some of the work being done, and you're interested in amplifying Black, Indigenous, and people of color in marine science, be sure to check that out. What else we got, Jaida? We have other things we want to shout out.
Oh, yes. So we have currently a fundraiser going where you can sponsor a workshop participant to come out to do our workshop next year. We also have the option for you to sponsor an intern if that's something you're interested in, as well as our science achievement service awards, or if you wanted to just donate a couple dollars and not necessarily sponsor a specific person, we appreciate any and all donations, and all of it is going to go to helping some amazing women of color get experience and do some amazing things for our amazing top predators of the ocean. So you can check out our website, misselasmo.org. And our socials are at miss_elasmo. And we like to post a lot of cool stuff and highlight our members. I guess if you just want to follow along with our journey, you can check us out on socials and our website. But I think Jasmin kind of covered all the cool stuff we have going on.
I wanted to ask you guys if you had any highlights from the past year, because that's a lot. Like, if people are listening, this kind of started, well, briefly. The origin story is like back when an innocent birder, a Black man in Central Park, kind of got bothered and had the cops called on him by a white lady. And that sort of led to like Black in STEM, and you guys all met online, like over Twitter kind of, and got together and were like, women, like Black women and people of color in marine sciences could use some support. So like, what have been some highlights? Like, what are some things you're like, I don't know, how's the landscape changed for you in the past year?
I think the biggest things for me were that, one, because we met online, we didn't meet until like 6, 7, 8 months into this thing, when we met in March for our workshop. So one of my favorite things was finally being able to meet the other co-founders, because we had created this whole community together, and that was amazing. And then 2, doing the workshops, because we got to see some women of color who may not have ever seen like a shark up close like that before, actually participating in shark science and being really excited. And then 3, helping to create this community where, a lot of the times people are like, well, there's just no representation of women of color because women of color just aren't interested. And I'm like, well, we have 300 plus members from 21 different countries. So I think that would disagree with your statement. So now it's like, no one has an excuse for like not sharing stories and science by amazing people of color and women of color in this field. Like, we are now a whole like database for people to use to access amazing science done by women of color, so that we can increase representation, because representation is really important. And also, these people are doing some amazing work and they deserve to be recognized for it. So those are like my kind of highlights.
Yeah, and we were able to do some fellowships and make sure that we paid for travel and lodging, and were able to give stipends to people doing internships. So we had one intern that we sent to Bimini Shark Lab, and she just came back. We have 2 that are going to Oceans Research in South Africa next month. We'll be sending another one to Bimini. We had 2 that were here, where I'm located in Sarasota, doing an internship with New College of Florida and Havenworth Coastal Conservation. So we're super excited that we were able to provide 6 opportunities to people. And we, like Jaida said, we did the workshops. We also launched a educational platform called Gill Guardians for people to learn about sharks and rays and their relatives. And that provides a lot of online content for people to learn about elasmobranchs. And also we started doing some in-person events as people started getting vaccinated. And so we were able to have our first round of Science by the Sea for some middle schoolers here in Florida. And that was a blast. They got to do shark dissections. They got to build ROVs, remotely operated vehicles. And they got to learn about plankton and how to use microscopes and how to code and all sorts of fun things. And so we're really excited about all of that we were able to accomplish in such a short period of time. And we're hoping to expand that and do even more fellowships, even more workshops, and upgrade to doing a summer camp next year. So stay tuned for all the exciting things happening in here too.
The summer camp is probably for kids, but I would be excited to join. Thank you guys for spending some quality shark time with us. I guess we considered putting sandbar shark in here because there's our shark scientist friend on Twitter that claims sandbar shark is best shark. And we kind of said, well, sandbar shark is like, eh. So let's close out on do we have any closing thoughts? What would you say is best shark? If it's not, if you don't agree that it's sandbar shark.
It's not the sandbar, Schiffman. I'm so sorry. I appreciate all of the work that you do, but sandbars are incredibly overrated. Best shark is Thresher shark. Sorry.
Is which
Yes.
shark?
The best shark
The
is
Thresher.
Bonnethead.
Bonnethead and Thresher. Okay, I think both of those are pretty awesome sharks. Bonnethead is like one of my top 3. It's Thresher, Bonnethead, and salmon shark because they're endothermic, and that's dope.
Bonnetheads are awesome because 1, they're adorable. 2, they are hammerheads, and I have a bias towards hammerheads. The hammerhead family is bomb. 3, they're omnivorous. What's up with that? Like, you know how cool it is to have a shark that eats seagrass? We don't talk about it enough. That's
They're
all I got.
cute too, right? They're small. How big does a bonnethead get? Like a couple feet long?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 feet long.
Small boys, so cute.
So little.
They
Little
also
friend.
look scared and concerned all the time, which is
They
just
do.
so great.
Thanks for listen, a grass eating, we had a great chat with a shark scientist who used bonnetheads to study how sharks use their magnetic fields to navigate. And it was cool. He was like, yeah, they're ideal because they're tiny and I can use, otherwise I wouldn't be able to fit them in my my little contraption with copper wiring every which way. So they're contributing to science. They're adorable. They're omnivorous. I don't know. I'm with you guys. I won't challenge a shark expert on best shark. I know my lane. All right. We'll wrap it up here. I hope you guys have a good weekend. And I'm going to try to catch your fellow Miss co-founder Carly on July 12th on Nat Geo. See what she's up to. And I'm going to check back in with you guys for the POC conference. I'm excited to see what papers and what research come out of that.
For sure. Yeah. Be sure to check all of that out. Super fun. We also have one of our friends of Miss, Dr. Toby Daly Engel. She's going to be on Shark Week show, 2 shows actually, Mother Sharker and then the one with Tiffany Haddish in it. And we love Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish was spotted wearing some Miss swag on Instagram.
I
And
screamed.
so shout out to Tiffany Haddish.
Love her.
I'm sorry. I keep saying goodbye, but this was a thought I had. Like, what are the most shark-loving celebs? Like clearly Tiffany Haddish is a undercover shark fan, or not so undercover now. But we know one of the Chris's, Hemsworth, is a shark guy.
Hemsworth, yeah. Love that. I was like, Carly, did you meet him? She was like, unfortunately, no. I was like, I needed to live vicariously through you. Yeah, love him.
All right. I'm going to be keeping an eye peeled for like shark-loving celebs in the wild too.
In the
Just putting
wild.
it under my hat. All right. Thanks for watching, folks in the chat, and thanks for asking all your good questions. And hope everyone has a chill Friday afternoon and a chill weekend. We'll go ahead and stop our live, then we'll say goodbye.